Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. Picking up exactly where we left off in the last episode. Now, before I started here today, I took a look at the playback of the last episode, and if you happen to remember that problem I had with the fertilizer mission, where all the fertilizer disappeared, well, I figured out what happened. The fertilizer is on the side of the road way down there. As I was driving, I accidentally hit the unload button and jettisoned all of the fertilizer by the side of the road. So that was completely my fault, obviously. I may have impugned the developers when that happened, and for that I offer my sincere apology. It's totally my fault. And unfortunately, I went back, and the contract, once you cancel a contract, you can't get it again. But I did get this contract for Field 7, which has a decent payout. So I thought I would go do that, and that'll give me a chance to go and pick up some of that fertilizer and empty it out. So I'm going to swap sides with this weight. I'll put that on the front, since this fertilizer spreader does get a bit heavy. I'm going to check I think it might need maintenance. If you go over to the wrench icon and you click it twice, then you can sort the list from worst to best maintenance. So I can see that the Hardy Mega is at 67%. So let's give that a repair before we go. Okay, and I've already got 1,000 in the tank here, but I am going to empty it before we go so that I can, I'll empty it here, and then that way I'll have more room to pick up some of that fertilizer that I left on the side of the road there. Okay, repair, yes. There we go. Okay, and this is where I'm dumping things. There we go. That's exactly what I did as I was driving down the street. I didn't even notice it. But as I was looking at the video that I recorded earlier, I decided to see if I could figure out what happened, and I noticed that I didn't have any fertilizer when I got to the field. So I just kept going back until I saw the point where the fertilizer disappeared, and then that's when I realized what had happened. So there it is. Well, I guess if I need more fertilizer to take care of these fields in the future, I won't have to go very far. So that's good. All right. And then this one has 2,000, so there'll be some left over here. All right, where is Field 7? Oh, okay. It's quite close, actually. And I think I'm going to speed up time a bit. Let's go to 15x on the time scale. Just because there's not much to do at this point except wait for our crop to be ready and check on our cows. Now, one thing I did do is, since we're just getting started with the cows, I think now is a very good time to measure how much they're consuming. Since we're starting from 0, I've got 12 cows. We put in 8,000 water, 4,000 straw, and 8,000 hay, all at more or less the same time, and it was at around 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't note the time exactly, but it was around that time. And so I've written down the quantities that we put in. And so what I want to do is wait 24 hours and then measure it again and see where we end up. And that way we'll be able to figure out, by dividing by 12, we'll be able to figure out how much of each of those resources the cows consume per day, which will be useful for us in planning. For example, we're going to harvest oats, and oats make straw, so it'll be good to think about whether or not we need to make straw bales. And if we do, how many bales should we make to last us at least a couple days, Because I don't think I'm going to bale up the entire field again like I did last time. That was an awful lot of work. Although my understanding is that they have reduced the straw yield with the latest patch. That patch, I think, I know it was released for PC, but I think it hasn't been released for consoles yet. But I heard that the straw yield was cut in half or something like that, which honestly I think would be good because it was a heck of a lot of straw. I mean, just from field 11 and field 20, I got almost 100 bales. I mean, that's like 400,000 liters. That's just ridiculous. I mean, maybe it's reasonable. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a real life farmer, but it was certainly a lot to deal with. And the problem with bales is that once you make the bales, you have to do something with them. You can't just say, forget it, and just leave them there because they're all over your field. So once you go down that path, you really need to finish the job. So in this case, when we're ready to harvest, I'll make the straw swaths, and then we'll decide what to do with it. If I need a few bales, I'll make a few bales and then probably stop and just leave the rest of the straw on the field. Because all that baling wasn't a whole lot of fun. Now, once I have money for straw baler, or for the square baler, and the square, that's hard to say, and the square baler trailer that can pick up 16 at a time. Once I get that equipment, I probably will collect straw and sell all the bales because it'll be much more efficient than it is with the round baler where you have to stop every time you get full and all that sort of thing. And then the trailer only picks up 8 at a time, so it's a much more time-consuming process. All right, so yeah, I'm just doing a trip around the field here myself. And that way, if I decide to put a worker on this, he'll have plenty of room to turn around. This part on the top where there's trees and roads close by could slow down the worker a bit. All right, I couldn't have executed that turn much better than that. When I hit a corner like that, I try to do it so that the inside tip stays right on the corner, and I just go around in a nice arc. Now the inside 90 degrees are not really possible to do that. You have to overlap somehow. Okay, turn on the cruise control here, and I want to quickly check on our field state. Okay, yeah, we're in the last. I don't know why I can't talk today. We are in the last growth stage, which means that it'll be ready to harvest fairly soon. So actually, let's speed up time yet again to 30. And I think there's a growth phase at 6:30 a.m., which means the next one should be, I don't know, late this afternoon, I think. In previous versions of the game, I used to remember at what time the growth stages were for each difficulty, but now I don't recall. On fast, I think it's every 4 hours, or maybe it's every 6 hours. I think it's every 4 hours. And on normal, I want to say it's every 8. And then on slow, I think it's every 24 hours. You essentially get one growth phase per day. And I really prefer, once I have a good number of fields, I prefer to play with crop growth on slow. It just feels a little more realistic to, to have to pass several days between planting and harvest. And it gives you more time to do stuff. And once we have a good fast forward mod released on the mod hub, it makes it even more practical to do that. Of course, now with the houses, you can fast forward at least through nighttime at 5,000 times, which is really nice. But I think it's going to be a while before I want to spend my money on a house. As a matter of fact, I was thinking that what we'll do with the money from this harvest is buy a feed mixer. Or maybe I should just lease the feed mixer, because that's another item that's not going to get a lot of hours. So if the daily cost on it is not too high, if it's $100 or something, we might be better off just leasing it. All right, so for this pass, I think I might leave a gap here, but we can always, we can always go back and fill that in later if we have to. We'll probably complete the contract even with that missed bit behind us there. Yeah, so it might be a good idea to lease the mixer. Let's see if we can see what the cost is here. And I want that one, the Silo King. Yeah, $530 a day. And how much was it? 53,000. Okay. Yeah, so it seems like daily lease cost is 1% of the purchase price. Because I've seen that on just about everything that I've looked at leasing, that it would take 100 days of daily leasing cost. So maybe it's worth it, because I think the interest rate, if the interest rate on the money is higher than 1%, then it's probably better to lease than to buy if you have debt. Yeah, you'd be better off leasing and then putting your money onto the debt to get your debt down, if the interest is higher than 1% and you're not going to use it for very many hours. If you're only going to incur an hourly charge every 7 or 8 days or something like that, then I think the math would probably work out. Okay, yeah, good. All right, so oh, okay, our field is ready to go. That's awesome. Let's collect. Thank you very much. I'm going to set the time back to 1. And I usually play this way, where when I'm doing work, I put time on 1 on real time, and then speed it up when I'm done doing the jobs. When I played previously with Seasons mod, I found that it was... I liked it better to put the time on 5 or 15 and just leave it like that. You know, I could fast forward, of course, if there was nothing for me to do but wait. But it made it a little more interesting when you have time limits. You know, because with the Seasons mod, and it'll be coming out for FS19 as well. Probably it'll take a few more months, I would imagine. But with the Seasons mod, you know, you only have a certain amount of time available to plant your crop. You only have a certain amount of time to get your harvest done. You know, grass only grows at certain times of the year, you know, for your cows and stuff. So makes it pretty interesting. Actually, before we get started, let's go and let's see if I can grab the rest of that fertilizer off the side of the field, since I got a partially empty tank now. Ooh. I think I should be able to pick up the rest of it. Yeah, so it'll be nice to see how much money we get from these oats. Hopefully it'll be a good amount. Now I could see that the, you know, when I put that bale of hay in for the cows, it seemed like it only filled up the trough by, what, maybe 5-10%? Yeah, looks like only about 10% or so. So, seems like they need a lot more food than they did in FS17. And that could mean that I need to devote more land to pasture. Because if we burn through all this hay before the grass is ready to cut again, then that'll be a problem for us. We'll end up starving our cows. Of course, once I have the feed mixer, I'll be able to make TMR, and then I'll be able to mix hay and silage and straw. And the straw makes a good filler. And I usually try to put as much straw as possible in the TMR, just because straw is so cheap. You know, it's essentially a byproduct of your other crops. And the sale value for straw is less than it is for hay or silage. So even looking at it that way, the straw is worth less. Okay, so let's get the harvester out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over there. I'm going to put a worker on it, and then I'm going to let you guys watch it for a minute while I go and see why the heck my dog is barking. Because he's been going at it for a couple of minutes and isn't stopping. And it's not too loud in here, and I'm sure that you guys probably don't even hear it very well at all. But it does just kind of put me in a little bit of anxiety knowing that something is going on out there, and it's probably not something that's good. Okay, be right back. Okay, And I'm back, and I forgot to turn on the straw swath. So let me stop for a second. We'll back up, enable that. I think I have it enabled now. There we go. Okay, so now we can pick up straw if we so choose. The other thing that we could consider is leasing one of these big loading wagons. Eugh, 6,000. $4,000. That doesn't hold very much, though. Oh, here's some big ones. 240 horsepower. I've got 240 horsepower. What does that cost to lease? Oh, and you can even extend it. $7,000. But that holds 53,000 liters. Which means we could clear off the entire field in probably about 4 trips and sell the straw. Let's see what straw is worth. If you can even sell, I wonder if you can even sell loose straw now. Okay, they've added grass. All right, so it's 60 for something. I honestly don't remember which is which. So either grass or straw is 60, one is 80, and then hay is 104. And I don't know if you get a premium for bales or not. I think you should. In 17 you did. Like loose straw was worth less than baled straw, in other words. But I don't know if that's still the case. All right, let's get our tipper. I really like this tractor. I'm glad I accidentally sold the old one. Now our grass is also ready to cut. So that's something else that we can get going here. In fact, we could probably do that while we're taking care of the harvest. As a matter of fact, let's go empty the harvester now. I don't recall how much it's got in it, but hopefully it's getting full. If it's getting full, that means we're getting a lot off the field. Now, oats, I think has a similar yield to canola. So I think we can expect 2.5 full tippers. Well, actually probably closer to 3 because now we've got extra land that's been plowed in between the fields. So we'll probably get about 3 tippers worth, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yeah, so let's do some mowing while we're waiting for that to get done. And I think we'll make silage bales this time. All right, and I'll put that. No, I'm not going to put it on the back. Let's see if we can run the mower with nothing on the back. I don't think it'll be a problem. Okay, now this time I'm just going to cut the whole area. including the actual field portion of it. That way we'll get more grass. We'll save whatever seems like a reasonable amount of silage to use for our cows, and then the rest of it we'll sell off and get some more money for it. And then I think what I was starting to say earlier, and I don't know if I ever completed my thought, but what I want to do with this harvest is either buy or lease the feed mixer so that we can make total mixed ration, and then I'm going to use the rest of the money just to pay down the loan a bit. All right, and here I'm just going to stop here, I guess. I want to get off of this messed up part of the ground. And we'll just cut everything that can be cut. We can see a little bit of manure starting to show up. Now that we have the windrower, I don't mind just cutting grass all over the place because it's easier to collect. And when you're not pulling the baler behind you, you don't leave, we won't be leaving bits and pieces all over the field. So I very much would like to get the other half of this mower combo, because that'll make this job a lot quicker. In fact, maybe I should do that too with the money. I don't know. I know there are some of you that would like to see me get the loan paid off. And I would too, to be honest. It's costing me not an insignificant amount of money. In fact, we can check. We paid yesterday we paid $34.83. So that's for $625,000. So let's take 3483 divided by 625,123. That is 0.55% per day, which is about half of what the leasing cost is per day, right? Because that's 1%. That's not even counting the hours. So in that case, it seems like it's better to, if you don't have the money, it seems like it would be better to borrow money to buy something than it would be to lease it. But I don't really have the option to borrow money right now anyway, because my loan is maxed out, nearly so. Now you can, when you buy land, that increases your credit line because you have more collateral. But I'm not sure what the ratio is. I think it's around 50% or 60%. So when you buy land, you can borrow more money, which, kind of sort of makes it cheaper to buy land. It doesn't exactly do that, but all right. I'll put a worker on him to keep the mowing going. And we'll come fill up. Yeah, it does seem like there's a lot less straw now. Just the size of the straw swaths they're much skinnier than they were before. That's okay. He does turn around normally there. That's good. I was thinking that maybe there's not enough room for the harvester to make a normal turn. And I don't want him to spend extra time on the clock, making a 10-point turn to get to the next row. Okay, so we're going to need to lime again. So we'll have to do that. All right, then I'm taking over again from the worker. Start going in the other direction now. And actually, I'm going to try to start making it a little bit quicker by, instead of going in circles, maybe I'll split the field and then just start going up and down with wide turns so that I don't have to stop. And I missed a couple bits here and there, but I'm not doing too bad with this. Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, we might need to consider planting more grass, and I was thinking that if we do that, we could take the northern part of what used to be field 11 and turn that into pasture. In other words, at the northern edge of field 13, just come straight across with crop, and then just plant grass to the north of that. And that would give us, it'd probably be almost as much space as what we have here in this field, if not more. So if it turns out that we need more grass to keep the cows fed, then I'll just do that. No, I guess the nice thing about the current state of feeding the cows, like if you're not doing mixed ration, and you can feed them with either hay or silage, that means you could make a bunch of both and just, honestly, if that's the case, you might as well just make all silage, because it's probably about the same amount of effort, maybe even a little bit less, because with the hay you have to cut it and then ted it and then rake it and bale it. And with silage you have to cut it, rake it, bale it, and wrap it. So either way, you still have to go over the field 4 times, more or less. So you might as well just make silage bales, because then, if you have extras that you can sell, you're going to get a lot more money for the silage than you will for the hay. Now, when you start making total mixed ration, you need both, so that changes things. But if you're just, and I've read on the forums that some people seem to be satisfied with the lower productivity, that you get just by feeding hay and or silage. We could see in our case, we're still getting 80% productivity. I think there's some folks that don't think that extra 20% is really worth the effort to make the TMR. So I guess that remains to be seen. In our case, I'm going to start with the TMR, because I think that is also a little bit more interesting to do, in addition to getting more productivity. But if we're only getting if we're not getting that much milk to begin with, then yeah, maybe we say, why bother? For an extra 10 or 20 liters a day or something like that, it probably wouldn't be worth it. Okay, let me clean up these little bits and pieces here. I think we're pretty much out of time anyway. So what I'm going to do is finish cutting this field. I will rake it, bale it, and wrap it. And I'll keep this harvest going, and I'll come back for the next episode when we're just finishing up the harvest so that we can get our payday and see how we make out and decide what to do from there. So until then, thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I'm always happy to hear from you. And thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.